Why do some people clean their house every single day, even when it already looks clean? They wipe the counters before there is visible dirt, put things back almost immediately, make the bed without thinking, and rarely let dishes sit for long. Is it perfectionism, strict discipline, or simply an obsession? These questions merely scratch the surface. The deeper and more important question is not why someone cleans every day. It is what the cleaning is doing for them psychologically. Now, the most ordinary explanation is also one of the most powerful: habit. A behavior that happens in the same setting again and again can become attached to stable cues. Breakfast ends, so the counter gets wiped. Dinner ends, so the dishwasher gets loaded. The person gets dressed, so the bed gets made. After enough repetition, these actions require less negotiation. The cleaner is not necessarily waking up every morning with extraordinary motivation. Their environment is doing part of the remembering for them. If the spray is beside the sink, the hamper is where clothes naturally come off, and each object has an obvious destination. Cleaning stops being a series of tiny decisions and starts becoming a sequence. This matters because a cluttered room can become mentally exhausting when every object demands a decision. Where does this go? Do I keep it? Should I deal with it now? Daily cleaners often prevent that pile-up before it becomes psychologically expensive. They may not be more virtuous or disciplined than someone who struggles with clutter. They may simply have a system that keeps unfinished decisions from accumulating. 10 minutes of maintenance today can feel easier than facing 50 choices on Sunday. Everyday cleaning can therefore be less about loving chores and more about preventing chores, objects, and postponed decisions from stacking up into something overwhelming. Some daily cleaners are also more sensitive to environmental disorder. A cup on the table, shoes in the hallway, or an unfolded blanket may register quickly as unfinished business. That does not mean everyone else is careless. Different people simply experience the same room differently. One person can look at a lived-in space and barely notice the visual details. Another sees small signals that something is incomplete. For that second person, tidying can create relief because the room stops competing for attention. When a home feels demanding, unfinished, or visually loud, it stops being restorative. Daily cleaning can keep the home from crossing the line between lived-in and mentally noisy. That visual quiet can also create psychological closure. Adult life is full of problems that do not end neatly. Work stress follows you home. Relationships remain unresolved. Money problems cannot be scrubbed away. Parenting, health, and family obligations can stay open in the mind for weeks. Cleaning is different because it contains visible endings. The sink goes from full to empty, the counter goes from scattered to clear. The laundry moves from a pile to a drawer. For someone surrounded by open loops, completing a small physical task can feel unusually satisfying. They may not be trying to control the whole world. They may simply be creating one place where effort produces an immediate, observable result. This is why some people clean more when they are stressed. Stress often creates an urge to do something, but the real problem may not offer a clear action. You cannot immediately solve uncertainty at work or force another person to communicate better. You can, however, wash the dishes or clear a surface. Cleaning gives the body a concrete task, predictable movements, and an obvious endpoint. That can feel grounding. It should not be romanticized as a treatment for anxiety, and not every stressed person cleans. Many people do the opposite and lose the energy to maintain their home. One overwhelmed person freezes in front of the mess. Another starts organizing the kitchen. The difference is not morality, it is the coping pattern available to that person. Daily cleaning can also be preventive rather than reactive. Some people know that once a room becomes chaotic, starting feels much harder, so they never let it reach that point. They rinse the plate now because a full sink later will feel overwhelming. They put the shoes away because 5 pairs in the hallway will become another job. Their routine works like maintenance rather than rescue. This can explain why someone cleans a house that already appears clean. What you are seeing is the result of the system working. The absence of visible disorder may be evidence that the person has designed a rhythm that keeps disorder from becoming a large, aversive task. There is also a social layer. Household standards are learned. Families teach us what normal looks like long before we choose our own routines. In one home, dishes left overnight may be ordinary. In another, it may feel unthinkable. People also absorb cultural expectations about competence, adulthood, hospitality, and respectability, and those pressures are not distributed equally. For some daily cleaners, the routine may therefore contain both personal preference and internalized responsibility. They may enjoy order while also feeling that relaxing in a visibly imperfect room is somehow irresponsible. There's a major difference between saying, "I like waking up to a clean kitchen," and saying, "I cannot relax until this kitchen is perfect." One is a preference. The other makes rest conditional. A person can end up cleaning not because the task matters, but because sitting down while something remains unfinished produces guilt. The house becomes a scoreboard. A clean room means I am keeping up. A messy room means I am failing. A functional home does not need to look untouched by human life. And a coffee mug on a table is not evidence that someone has lost control of adulthood. And then there is the question people often jump to too quickly. Does cleaning every day mean someone has OCD? No. Frequency alone is not enough. A person may clean every morning because they enjoy the routine, because it makes later life easier, or because they prefer an orderly environment. The more useful question is, what happens when the routine cannot happen? Can they leave the dishes for a night without severe distress? Can they stop when something is reasonably clean? Can they go out with friends even if the floor has not been vacuumed? If the answer is yes, the routine is likely flexible. If cleaning is driven by intrusive fears, intense contamination concerns, overwhelming disgust, or a feeling that something terrible will happen unless the ritual is completed, the psychology is different. Compulsive cleaning can persist because it produces temporary relief. Anxiety rises, the person cleans, and the anxiety falls. The brain then learns that cleaning was the action that made the danger feeling go away. The next time the fear appears, the urge can return strongly. Over time, the person may repeat steps or struggle to feel that something is ever truly finished. This is why the best dividing line is not the shine of the countertops, it is freedom. Healthy routines are tools you use. Compulsions increasingly feel like rules you must obey. Two people can have equally spotless kitchens while having completely different relationships with the behavior that created them. So what is the psychology of people who clean their house every day? There is no single answer. One person has built an automatic routine, another is reducing visual noise, yet another is protecting themselves from accumulated chores. The behavior on the surface can look identical, while the meaning underneath it is entirely different. The healthiest question then is not, why are you cleaning when the house is already clean? It is, does this routine make your life easier, or does your life now revolve around maintaining the routine? A good cleaning system should create more freedom. It should reduce decisions, lower friction, and make the home easier to live in. It should allow for bad days, missed chores, guests, fatigue, and actual human life. The goal is not a home that never becomes messy. The goal is a home whose level of order supports the people inside it.